Okay, this is a call to order of the second regular meeting for February 2022 of the Bridgeport Board of Education. Today's date is Monday, February 28th, 2022. The time is noted as being 6:32 p.m. Mr. Lombard contacted me. He won't be here tonight, so I'm going to do the roll. John Weldon, present. Bobby Brown. Joseph Lombard. Sybil Allen.
Here.
Christine Baptiste Perez. Albert Benahan.
Present.
Erica Castillo.
Present.
Michael Macaron.
Present.
Joseph Sakala.
Present.
Okay. If you'd all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
One privilege. We got members of the audience that aren't masked up. Can we see that we get what's the rules and everything?
Okay, if you're not wearing a mask, I need you to put a mask on. Masks are required in our buildings till at least March 30th. Okay. In memoriam, Antoinette Carpenter. Mr. Sakalovic, you brought this to my attention. I don't know if you know more about her than I do, but it's my understanding that she was a Bridgeport Public Schools graduate who went on to become a teacher and was an AP at Central High School. Is there any other information that you're aware of, Mr. Testani?
Ms. Carpenter was a dedicated Bridgeport educator, leader. She also was the principal of the high school summer school program for many years prior to her retirement. Again, also the aunt of Miss Diana Soares, of principal at Bridgeport Military Academy. So a moment of silence out of respect for the passing of Miss Antoinette Carpenter is in order.
Okay. So I'll ask for a moment of silence in memory of Ms. Carpenter. Okay, thank you. As we customarily do, somebody make a motion to lower flags to half staff for the balance of the week in memory of Ms. Carpenter.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Castillo, second by Ms. Allen. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Next is student representative reports. We have five representatives here tonight. If you introduce yourselves, I'll start with you on the end.
I'm a senior at the Biotechnology School.
Can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. My name is Laila Wilson. I'm a senior at the Biotechnology and Zoological Science School at Fairchild Wheeler. Today was the kickoff of our Black History Month Skills Day celebration. So this event was solely student planned and led. We met over the course of about 2 weeks. And today was the first day, like I said, and it went really well. The day consisted of activities that were either created or inspired by Black creators or thinkers. And it was overall a good time. Students had a great time. We did a bunch of activities ranging from basketball to dance, which I was in charge of, which I had a great time doing. And bracelet making, we made a beautiful poster, which is going to be put up in our school, hopefully afterwards. We had student volunteers walking around taking pictures, so hopefully we'll have those put on the website or wherever they need to go or whatever. So it was just great, and we are optimistic and excited for the next 2 days of the celebration, and just happy that we got the opportunity to do this. In addition, I have an accomplishment to share. Our own Miss Crudale from Bio was awarded the Beard Excellence Award for the 2021 and 2022 academic year. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I'm Lamarya Ferguson, and I am the Central High School student representative. So what's going on at Central now is that we're going to have an assembly tomorrow to really emphasize that, Black History Month doesn't end on February 28th, but the history still goes on and history is still being made. And then for this upcoming March for Women's History Month, we also have a lot of activities planned there. And then because the SAT's on the 23rd of March, in our school, we're really pushing SAT prep. And what we mean by this is we're not just like telling the students to do SAT prep. What's happening is that we're actually being given time during classes to do SAT prep, which I find is really helpful. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
My name is Elena Khan. I'm aerospace representative. So like Laila said, we just did the Aerospace Day for the Black History Month celebration, which went really well. Recently, we also held a door decorating contest that was thematic to Black history, and that was there for students and parents to see. And on Friday, we will hold a basketball tournament, which will be between teachers and students. And basically, children are paying to sign up their teams, and then whichever team is winning, they will get to donate the money to a charity of their choice. So we're holding that this Friday. But yeah, that's what we've done.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, I'm Avery Fleckner at the Infotech School. We have a list of things we did. So going off the Black History Month, everybody got a program of what's going on, so explains that. And then, so we also have several accomplishments. So to start, we got the Magnet School of America School of Distinction. One of our favorite teachers, Mrs. Aquendo, got the Magnet School of America Teacher of the Year. And then I myself won the 2022 National Certificate of Distinction of the NCWIT Award for Aspirations in Computing. And then 2 teams from IT competed in the math competition over the weekend, and we're waiting on the results.
Okay.
My name is Nyla from Bridgeport Military. Some events that happened in the past month of February were the annual Naval ROTC program inspection is taking place on Friday, March 4th. SAT tutoring is taking place in order to prepare the junior class for their big test next month. BMA second teacher/student volleyball game is being planned for March. The NAROTC program will be attending a drill competition in New Jersey next March.
Okay, thank you. All right, that concludes student representative reports. Are there any online?
Excuse me?
Do we have any student reps online?
Yes.
Okay, I can't see you. You're behind me.
Yes, we do.
So, go ahead.
I'm Sherman Elliott from Harding High School. And this past Thursday, we had an assembly for Black History Month where students express themselves through art, music. They had showcases and speeches in honor of Black History Month, where Bobby Brown actually made an appearance there. Thank you to her. And we're doing a blackout tomorrow to honor Black History Month. And over the weekend, me and my classmates actually got a response from UConn where we found out that we were admitted, where we're actually doing ECE classes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any others online? It's hard from my angle to see.
There is me.
Ruth?
Yes. Hi, my name is Ruth Cruz and I'm from Bassick High School. A couple of the things that we did at Bassick were we are celebrating Black History Month, where we had an assembly where students represented Black artists, where there was a mix of monologues, poems, and music from the Bassick Jazz Club. Seniors have also done their FAFSA, where it has increased by 50%, and students have begun to use MyPath for about 20 to 25 minutes during third period. That's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any others?
Yeah. My name is Michael Hemmings. I'm from IT at Fairchild Wheeler. next month we have our SAT, March 27th, in school. And then today, tomorrow, which is Tuesday and Wednesday, we have a Black History Month activity set for the whole school. Today, Aero participated in theirs. Tomorrow would be Bio, and Wednesday would be IT.
Okay, thank you.
It's all the schools.
Is that all of them?
Yeah, we-
Is there one more? What's the name? What's the first name?
I think that's the first name. Anything else? Laila Wilson.
Schools have been represented.
Okay. All right. Before we continue, I want to acknowledge that Ms. Baptiste Perez has joined the meeting. Next on the agenda is public comment. We have 4 speakers, first of which is Dasha Spell. No, that's not required. Can you hit the mic? I don't think it was ever turned on.
Can you hear me? Okay. Good evening. My name is Dasha, aka Good Trouble Spell. I am here this evening on 2 pertinent issues that I have or concerns. The first one is that last Wednesday, and I just want to put this out there now, Board of Ed members, Superintendent Testani, City Council members, as well as the mayor, was invited to a town hall meeting to discuss Little Liberia, a little bit of history, as well as Bassick High School and why people have concerns. Thank you, Ms. Castillo, for coming out to the actual town hall meeting. We had a great discussion, and with that in mind, I can't breathe. Can I take this off real quick?
Take it off while you're talking. Yeah.
Okay. With that in mind, I am asking that we put Bassick High School on the agenda moving forward until it's actually built and the doors are open, because this needs to be an open discussion in regards to what's going on. There's students, and I love that we have a Bassick student online, as well as stakeholders who are interested on the daily activities and actually want to see the school be built in a successful, timely manner, which is why we're also asking for the board to agree with the idea of having an environmental impact study so that we can ensure that the actual location, which is the south end of Bridgeport, Little Liberia, AKA flood zone, is not only appropriate, but how does it impact what is going to happen as Bassick is being built and as Resilient Bridgeport is working on addressing the flooding. My second concern and issue is that as a parent, whether it's 1, 10, 100, 1,000, 1,000,000, when a parent comes to this podium and has concerns and issues, it's important that you not only hear me, but actually follow up with me. I asked specifically in December after the organizational meeting 2 pertinent items be put on a facilities list for discussionary. The first one being in regards to what is the protocol, what is the steps when it comes to active shooter and bomb threats, because at that particular time, we were having it throughout the state. And FYI, I know for a fact, one of the charter schools in Bridgeport did have an active shooter threat and had to be shut down. So these issues and concerns, I'm not coming to you with just problems, I'm coming with solutions. I want to work with y'all. The last concern and issue I have is the Board of Ed budget. I know y'all already voted on it, $8.5 million. But I've been at these meetings for the past 10 plus years, and a lot of y'all do know that. I know for a fact, every year that y'all have put in a budget, it's 10 million or more. We only get funded 2 million. If you do, for example, and students help me out, the math, 10 million times 7, what do you get? 70 million. We have not gotten 70 million from the city of Bridgeport. This year's an election, next year's an election. Students, if you are 17 and a half, you can vote this year, you can vote next year. We need money in the school system because realistically, I'm asking City Council to give us $2 million because our kids deserve it and they have every right to have the current services they have as well as services reinstated. So I'm asking you to help me help you. We have to work together. It is 2022. We are coming out of COVID. Yes, I do not agree with some of the decisions that are made, but as a parent, I do not sit here and take anything lightly. My child is in the school district. She's a middle schooler. She's about to be a high schooler. Right now, my concern is that when she gets to high school, what is that going to look like if we don't get the money? So I'm asking this board that we come out together. These meetings are important, so are the city council meetings. They're starting the budget hearings. We can come together and we can do this. All of y'all that were elected, guess what? Y'all have a following. Those people who signed the petitions, those people that support you, you need to have them coming out to these meetings so that they can be heard. Thank you and have a good evening.
Thank you, Ms. Bell. Joanne Kennedy.
Good evening. I'm just coming in reference to the town hall meeting that they had. I did attend. It was very good. It was very informative. They all went all the way back to 1800s when someone wrote a letter to the newspaper or to someone in reference to the flood zone. It's a FEMA hazardous flood zone, and the town hall meeting was very good. All the information that we got was very detailed. The details do make the difference, and people need to pay attention to that. Yes, we want the school built, but we want it to be built as safely as possible for our students. We don't want them to be in danger, just like you wouldn't want to be in danger of a flood zone. You should really think about it, rethink it. Things can always change. The weather is changing, as we know, with the climate change, so on and so forth, and we will be having more flooding. So I am all for them doing their due diligence before they build the school in that flood zone. And it's not recommended on the state level, federal level that you do that. Build a school. If that's the last place, if that's your only resort, that's the last resort. And then you should still keep looking to find something better for the students because they deserve it. The other issue I was coming up here to speak about was the bathrooms. It come to my attention through two parents and a student. One at Harding, how the bathrooms were closed and locked. The student had a experience where she had to go to the ladies' room, but pretty much all day she couldn't get there for timing or whatever, doors locked, whatever the situation may have been. A parent told me they had that same situation happen at Fairchild Wheeler. Both of them had to work today, so they could not come to this meeting. But I do plan on getting them to write a letter and send that to you. So that needs to be also addressed, and I spoke to Mrs. Sokolovich about it. So thank you, guys. Have a good one.
Thank you. Gladys Walker Jones.
Good evening. First of all, I want to commend the actions of the Board of Ed during the meeting on February 15th. And for starters, I want you to know that I'm acting on behalf of the Greater Bridgeport Board NAACP, as I am the education chair. So again, I want to commend the actions of the Board of Ed on February 15th when you voted to extend the mask mandate in all Bridgeport public schools until March 31st. It is my expectation that in addition to the current standing committees that you have, that you will at minimum have an ad hoc committee for health and safety, not only addressing the safety of our scholars, but also addressing the safety of our staff. It is also the expectation that this mask mandate will not just be looking at the trends, which is stated in the letter that was sent out to parents on February 16th, dated February 16th, but that you'll be looking at the science. So again, the last time that the Board of Ed had a health committee where an active health professional was on the committee was back in 2013. That's just unacceptable. So please reinstate a proper health committee that's going to address the health and safety needs of not only our scholars, but our staff. So not only specific to the mask mandate, but overall safety, whether it's an injured worker who needs reasonable accommodations in order to continue to do what it is that they are passionate about. So again, please reinstate a health committee.
Thank you. Julie Mar Ortiz.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Julie Mar Ortiz. I'm a proud BASIC alumni, class of 2011. We're actually having an 11-year reunion this year. So I send you greetings on all their behalf, but I'm actually here just as a community member, as someone who's very concerned about the environmental crisis and that we're facing in Bridgeport and just across the globe, and how that pertains to the building of BASIC High School in the South End. The BASIC community, from the west side to the south end, all the way up to the Hollow and PT, where I currently work, always gets the short end of the stick when it comes to resources and attentions and policies from this board. And as we move forward in the process of building a much needed school for our community, I do fear that the voices of our parents and students and members of the community are being outweighed by various political entities who seem to have already made up their minds. So my questions for this board is, have you considered both the environmental and historical impacts of the BASIC building to Little Liberia and the South End's Coastal Resiliency Plan, which residents in that community have been working on for years now to address flooding? Have you engaged and informed teachers as well as parents and staff in this process and students? And if not, is there a plan to, as you move forward with approving these plans? Will it cost our education budget in the long run to build a school in an area that may need additional maintenance due to its proximity to the ocean? And finally, have you been properly briefed on how the BASIC project has been pushed through the state approval, because it was unique? And if you have, I'm sure you would have more questions and concerns than what's currently being highlighted in the public conversation. So I appreciate your time. I hope you'll make sincere efforts to ensure that this project is supported by the community and supportive of the community. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes public comment. Next on the agenda is approval of board minutes. First one being February 15th, 2022 special meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Benahan, second by Ms. Allen. Are there any discussion or edits to be made? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any opposed? Any abstentions? February 15th, 2022 regular public meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Benahan, second by Ms. Allen. Is there any discussion or edits to be made?
I have a discussion for that, Mr. Chair.
You do have discussion?
Yes, it's
Okay.
page 14. When I was talking about Mr. Zastani, when I say he had, the staff, he believed, staff's here for him. I remember when I say, I want you, Mr. Zastani, be for the staff too. So I don't see that in the records. I want to be sure that be in the record.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's it, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Is there a motion to amend the motion to include the edits as noted by Mr. Benahan? Moved by Ms. Baptiste Perez, second by Mr. Sakalovic. All in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All in favor on the main motion as amended?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. For the chairman's report, I actually going to talk a little bit about BASIC. It's been a point of interest over the past week, so I'm just going to clarify some things. The State Office of School Construction Grants and Review, the SCGR, approved moving forward with construction of the new BASIC High School in the summer of 2021 based on a design submitted that places the school 18 feet above grade and is well above the 500-year flood plan. As part of the SCGR's review of the site, the city provided environmental site assessments, phases 1 and 2. These assessments found no material on the site that required remediation, and therefore a full environmental impact evaluation or an environmental impact study was not required. As part of this process, the State Department of Energy and Environmental Protection determined that the project is consistent with all applicable standards and criteria established under state statute and inclusive of the regulations on Connecticut state agencies. To further clarify, there is no issue regarding stormwater runoff, as the design does not increase the amount of impervious material from which is currently on the site. In addition, concerning sewer runoff, the BASIC project is designed to tie into a WPCA project which addresses this very issue. The BASIC project is also designed to tie into the Resilient Bridgeport project whenever that project comes online for construction. There has also been some media coverage about demolition contracting across the state related to school projects. The City of Bridgeport's school construction office utilized this same contract, which had 4 contractors on it. What is problematic in other areas of the state is allegations that certain state level staff members directed school employees to select very specific demolition contractors. That's a problem, and that's being addressed elsewhere. However, with respect to this project, the city's school construction office went to all 4 companies on that list. All were invited to bid. Only 2 decided to bid. And they actually went with the higher of the 2 bidders because the lowest bidder was so low, it became questionable whether they really understood the work that needed to be done. And what is left out of this conversation is the fact that before any of this happens, an engineer's estimate is developed. And the estimate to do this work was $9 million. I'm using round numbers. The highest bidder was $8 million, which is close to the estimate. The lowest bidder was $5 million, which is almost half of the estimate. And when you have a number that low, you really have to question whether they understand the work that is going to be done or not. The construction office engaged the lowest bidder to try to clarify what's your understanding of this work, and they repeatedly came back with incomplete information. And so the school construction office went with the highest bidder with the feeling that that was the bidder that truly understood the work that needed to be done. It was below the estimate, but it was also closest to it. So I just wanted to put those things out there because, these kinds of things get sensationalized and good people can be made to look bad when they were just doing their job. So I just wanted to put that all out there. That concludes my report. Next on the agenda is going to be committee reports and referrals.
Mr. Chair, may I ask a question
Sure,
about your
absolutely.
report?
Ms. Castillo, go ahead.
So I'm pleased to hear that that the BASIC project is willing to coordinate efforts with Resilient Bridgeport once Resilient Bridgeport sort of gets underway. I guess my one question is, and I'm not sure if you're the right person to ask, but if you do have any background knowledge on this particular issue, do you know if there have been any efforts either made by the city or by the state to collaborate or coordinate with Resilient Bridgeport in the past?
Yes.
Yes.
And can you detail some of those efforts for the public?
Familiar with it? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
We were involved with several meetings with Deputy Commissioner Hanks in coordinating where the project was, Bridgeport Resilient Project, and how we would be able to coexist. At that particular time, they were in 60% of the design phase after a little over 6 years, I believe, of planning, which became a little bit concerning to our end that 60%. This would kick that out much further. As you know, Bassick High School, the old building, as we refer to it, for those of us that have worked or attended Bassick High School, was built in 1929. The new building, 1969. It is in significant need of repair and obviously replacement. So those discussions then evolved, working with the architects and engineers on how the project can be built, and then the resilient project would be able to tie in. And that's where we're at today, where that project now can move forward. Once the resilient project is underway, it will tie in beautifully with the finished product of Bassick High School, and the projects will then coexist from that point on.
Okay, good. That was a concern of mine, and I did attend the meeting last week, and the information was sort of presented in a way of conflict, that those two plans would not be cohesive with one another. So I guess I just wanted to ensure that there's been a level of due diligence in the past of making sure that those two projects will coexist successfully. I do think there has been several incidents in the past of there being flooding in the south side. That's not a secret necessarily to anyone. And I do think for the integrity of the buildings, that we take into consideration that that area historically has flooded a number of times, and I feel that the Bassick plan does address that. I should hope that going forward in the future, should Resilient Bridgeport continue their plans, that the two will complement each other. Thank you.
The final approval on Bassick was not going to be made unless DEEP signed off and a number of other agencies. So that all had to occur prior to any sort of shovel in the ground, so to speak. And again, as Mr. Weldon mentioned, they have designed the building to raise the elevation of the property 18 feet to protect the building and all its surroundings from any flooding possibilities.
And do we know more or less when the building is going to begin for Bassick?
Well, they're finalizing contracts and it'll go out to bid sometime this month, they're estimating. Today, the first the top floors of Bodine Hall were beginning to be taken down. So another component to this is it's not like this is what you would call in construction virgin land. There are buildings that have been there for many years that are being removed, and the issues that had occurred because of those construction projects can now be alleviated with the changing of the elevation of the property to fit the new building. So we did engage in a public forum as well several months ago with those community members. There was some slight questions raised and concerns about flooding, but a lot of the conversation was directed in other areas that did not include environmental concerns. That was troubling to those of us that participate.
Okay.
And that's just being fully open and honest if we want to have that conversation. More than willing to elaborate further, but
sure.
There was disparaging remarks made by the student body at Bassick High School by certain individuals that participated from the community that were very offensive to me and those that were on the call.
Got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair. Yeah, I'm glad you brought all this information out. I think we as a board and as a city would be better served to put things out in the open. And are we planning anytime soon to have a community forum to say where we are in a basket, new designs, and such like that?
We need to understand that this is not our project. This is a city project. We can convey that to the city who's building it, and if they feel that it's worthwhile to do something like that, they will. But they have already done that repeatedly, so I don't know what level of interest they'll have, but I can convey it if you'd like.
Yeah, if you could bring it up at the next school building committee.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, anything else? All right, Committee reports and referrals. Ad hoc district-wide branding initiative. Ms. Brown is not here, but I was there, so I'll just kind of paraphrase. They've engaged Blackboard, who is working on our website, to provide some branding assistance to the district to be able to help us develop what some call a branding guide or a style guide that would be based on input that the district gives them. There was a presentation about billboard advertising over by Brewport, is it, I believe? Yeah. Route 25? Yep. And that was it. I don't know off the top of my head when the next meeting is, but are there any referrals for the branding committee? Okay. Contracts committee met on February 16th, and they produced the 4 new business items we have below. So we'll address those later in the meeting. Are there any referrals for contracts? Educational diversity, equity, and inclusion. Mr. Kolovic?
Yes, good evening, everybody. Yes, we met on February 22nd, and President was Bridgeport Generation Now, who offered us free anti-racism training, which the committee thought overwhelmingly would be a good idea for us to attend. Mr. Testani will be taking care of the details and finding a location and other details to work out. And it will be on April 1st, 2nd, and 3rd.
Okay, any referrals?
I got a couple more, okay. Sorry. And we looked at some data from the paraprofessionals. There's still a wide disparity. There's a wide disparity there. Latino representation, not as wide as there is in the teaching profession, but in the paraprofessionals at 28%, whereas our student body is about 51% or 52% Latino of Hispanic population. And that's something that we looked at. We also looked at the educational achievement of the paraprofessionals, because that would be a good place to, good source of getting new teachers and stuff like that, possibly. And if they have the educational capabilities to move quicker, that would be a quicker way of moving stuff. So something that needs to be explored a little further. And finally, we discussed the district-wide diversity celebration, which we don't know what it looks like yet. But we just have a feeling that we need to find something positive at the end, because this committee is going to be touching on tough subjects all the time, and we're going to be looking at stuff with a critical eye. And I think at some point we should look at stuff with a positive eye. And our next meeting will be on March 21st, 2022, Central Library at 6:30 p.m.
Any referrals? Okay. Facilities Committee is going to meet tomorrow at 6:30, Central High School Library. Items to be discussed will be a report on the heating system at Columbus School, a presentation of the stewardship report, which is a report outlining our portfolio of buildings and such, and a request for authorization to expend funds for the Curial School and Nutrition Center roof replacement projects. In the next meeting, we'll discuss Mr. Benahan's item relating to Hall and Edison and the issue relating to security. But these were some more pressing items that need to get out of the way first. Are there any referrals for facilities?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'd like to refer to issue Ms. Kennedy brought up at public speaking, student use of bathrooms. Our bathrooms should never be closed. I don't know if they are now. If that's something Mr. Testani could work out beforehand, I'd be happy, because our students shouldn't have to wait.
Do we really need to have like a full committee discussion on the bathroom, or do you just want him to find out what the heck happened?
I can speak to that if you'd like.
Okay.
Awesome.
So there are open bathrooms. There's not universally open bathrooms throughout all the high school buildings as a result of a lot of the vandalism that has been occurring across the district at an alarming rate early on in the year. Some of it attributed to TikTok and other challenges that have been taken far beyond than where it should have been. The facilities department is replacing soap dispensers and paper towel dispensers at an alarming rate where they cannot keep up. as fast as they're putting them up, they were getting ripped down. So having strategically placed unlocked bathrooms that could be monitored more closely by security, and who's entering in and out by surveillance cameras has made it a lot less of an issue since that's occurred. If you'd like all the bathrooms unlocked, I can order them to be all unlocked tomorrow morning. But we're not talking about, 5 and 6 year olds. These are young adults that they know when they need to use the restroom and will be able to walk a little bit further to get to an open bathroom and be able to utilize it.
Right. I've seen in my own experiences the similar issues. Not that it being locked, but there's certain times to go to the bathroom. Like kids are supposed to train their bladders to go at certain times, and I think it might merit a discussion on a committee level on how we make these decisions, because we've got every single bathroom closed, and maybe it's probably 5 to 10%. Yeah, I'm just making numbers up out of the air of children that are vandalizing it. 90% really got to walk across the whole building to go to the bathroom, and that's totally unfair. So I think we need some sort of report on the vandalism and the stuff that's taking place, and why these buildings are not being managed to the effect where these things don't take place. Instead of putting the onus on the children to have to go miles to the bathroom. I think that's something maybe we could hear from student reps about. I think they might have something to say about that.
At Fairchild and Bio, a lot of the bathrooms are locked as well. We have to walk all the way down to the cafeteria. So it's a little annoying. I mean, yeah, we have to use the bathroom, so it's not that big of a deal, but it is irritating. But that's all.
Yeah, I agree with Layla. It's kind of annoying especially because we have the cafeteria bathrooms open, and then in IT we have the first floor bathrooms open. So it's kind of annoying if you're on the top floor and you have to go all the way downstairs, but then you're worried about missing something important in class because you have to make the walk all the way downstairs. I mean, it's not important, but like, it's nice to have a bathroom on the floor you're on so you don't miss important things in class.
Can I ask, is there an end date for how long this practice is going to be exercised? Or, I mean, because you mentioned it was at the beginning of the school year.
Well, we talked about this at one of the other high schools earlier. The bathrooms were open. It became problematic again. The other thing, at a couple of the other high schools, principals had mentioned that there was congregation in the bathrooms to the point where students that needed to go use the bathroom couldn't go and get into a bathroom stall to use it because of all the number of folks that were hanging out in the bathroom, so they would not be visible if they were missing class. So that was a complaint from students to the principal, that when they went to the bathroom, they couldn't get an opportunity to use it because of the amount of, unfortunately, it was happening in the young ladies' bathrooms at certain schools, so they couldn't get into the stall to be able to use the bathroom as well. So we've been balancing a lot of this, and we don't have a large number of female security officers to go in and clear out the bathrooms when they're congregating in there for 20, 30, 40 minutes. I mean, this is just the reality of it. It's not that it's, you ask the question, we're going to give you the answers.
No. On the security issue and the congregation in the bathrooms, if these children are congregating in the bathroom, it's either between classes or during class. How are all these children allowed to walk out of class?
Well, they'll dip in there as classes are passing, and then they'll stay in there.
Okay, and how is the lateness or the absence of the class handled and allowed to continue? I mean, are parents being called saying your child hasn't been to good period?
There's starting to be enough back and forth on this
Which
topic.
is why I wanted to refer to facilities.
We'll put it on the committee. Okay? It's not just a simple answer to a question anymore. Now I'm starting to have a few questions myself, because buildings are designed with certain restroom facilities located where they are, so that, because that's the building code. And then we're violating that by just locking the bathroom. to resolve another problem. And I understand, but I think we need to find out a solution to the root problem instead of just locking it all up.
You can put it on the facilities meeting agenda, and I will have the high school principals present to discuss their specifics so they can address you more to their personal experiences and maybe come up with some solutions that they may have not thought of.
Fair enough. Finance Committee.
Excuse me. Yes, the Finance Committee met on February 23rd at Central High School. We had the usual discussions about ESSER funding balance, and we had handled, Mr. Benahan had asked for a report on the charter school expenditures, which amounted to about $3.48 million per year. That comes from the Bridgeport Board of Education budget before it hits the rest of the students. And the next meeting will be on March 9th, 2022 at Central High School at either 6 or 6:30 p.m., depending on the availability of my fellow committee members.
Any referrals for finance? Okay. Governance will be meeting on March 7th, 2022. We will pick up our discussions regarding public comment and the high school magnet policy. Are any further referrals? Okay. Personnel had a meeting scheduled to interview for the position of Executive Director of Specialized Instruction. One of the two candidates dropped out, so it was kind of pointless to interview just one person. So it was canceled, and I don't know how that position has evolved to this point. Have you interviewed the party?
No, later this week.
Okay. Students and families?
Student and family will be March 3rd, 2022 at 6 o'clock on Central High School, 6 p.m. in Library.
Any referrals?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'd like to refer, I don't know if you got time to get it on this one, maybe not enough time to report, get the data, but on like student suspension and school climate data, and broken down by categories, like how many fights, assaults, whatever have you. Find out what's going on in the schools, because apparently there's a lot of things going on. Like at our bathroom schools. Thank you.
Okay. Teaching and learning.
Teaching and Learning Committee did not meet in the interim. Our meeting got bumped by the regular board meeting having to be rescheduled. And there wasn't too many items, so we will be meeting March 16th at 6 p.m.
Any referrals? Okay. Superintendents Report.
Thank you. Just a couple of items before we do some recognitions. Bridgeport Public Schools received 506 cases of eye health test kits today. So this is in relation to prior to going and changing any masking in the district. So we do have enough test kits that we received today to be able to follow the guidelines and send every student and every staff member home with 2 test kits prior to any changes to the masking requirement. On that note, we are also trending into an all-time low in Bridgeport, going back to when we opened the school year in terms of positivity rate. There was 22 new cases, including the weekend, that were reported in Bridgeport as a city as a whole, and 1 in Bridgeport Public Schools. So, Liberations Program, Inc. has begun to make presentations to our grade 7 and 8 students to raise awareness on the dangers of illicit drugs, including fentanyl. This was something that engaged with our police department after the tragic events that happened in the Hartford Public Schools. They also offered a presentation virtually for parents last week. It was advertised throughout the district. Wasn't as well attended as we thought it would be. So we are reaching out, and if individual schools would like a evening where either virtual or in person. Liberations will come out and do a presentation for school parents at their school. March 11th is National SEL Day. All Bridgeport Public Schools will be participating in a variety of activities across the district. And then we have some shout outs. Congratulations to our own Avery Fleckner, who was recognized as 2022 National Certificate of Distinction recipient of the NCWIT Award for Aspirations in Computing. She's being recognized for her computing-related aspirations and demonstrating outstanding aptitude and interest in STEM, especially information technology and computing. She will be recognized at an online virtual celebration on April 6th. So please share that with us, Avery. Jump the gun on. Congratulations to all the students at Park City Magnet who were the first recipients of the Park City Magnet School's new Heart Award for showing honesty, effort, attitude, respect, and teamwork every day as role models for their fellow students. They received certificates with their new Panda logo and a kindness bracelet. So very proud of the Park City Pandas. Harding High School held a Breakfast with Brown event to celebrate 437 students who achieved first honors, second honors, and/or perfect attendance during the first semester. Students were greeted in the cafeteria by the Harding Drumline. They had breakfast, received certificates and bumper stickers acknowledging their achievements. So congratulations to 437 students at Harding who had breakfast with Brown, or Mr. Brown, but they call it Breakfast with Brown. Like to recognize John Winthrop, 7th grader Jaden Pinkney, for receiving first place in the Martin Luther King Jr. Fairfield University Connecticut Post Essay Contest. Also, Natalia Marquez for receiving 3rd place, and 8th grader Wayne Lewis Jr. for receiving honorable mention. They were recognized by Fairfield University, and they haven't yet their essays published in the Connecticut Post. Huge event held last week, February 23rd and 24th. Kudos to Mr. Herminio Planas and the math department hosted the first annual Mathematics Winter Olympics. This event was made available to all 5th and 6th grade students throughout the district. 53 classrooms participated in the virtual event, which included over 1,500 students. The winners of this year's competition were grade 5, first place, Ms. Wyman's class, Multicultural Magnet. 2nd place, Mr. Vellucci's class, Reed School. 3rd place, Ms. Joseph's class, Clater School. Congratulations to the 5th grade winners. Grade 6, first place, Mr. Howery's class, Tisdale School. 2nd place, Mr. Nicholas's school, Winthrop School. 3rd place, Mr. Snow's class at Winthrop School. The Perennial Math Company hosted the event. The cost was covered by funds from this year's Mathematics Movement Partnership Grant, and the department will hold similar middle school events, but this was the first time they allowed the entire class to partake in a math event. The awards ceremony was held virtually through Facebook and YouTube Live on February 24th at 6 p.m. Big shout out to Bassick High School students who celebrated Black History Month with student performances and presentations last week. Their jazz ensemble and jazz band and student vocalists performed. Presentations and poems were provided by the theater group, and a PTSO event closed out with a dinner to celebrate that evening. So, as you may have all received, the Bridgeport Islanders hockey team is hosting a Teacher Appreciation Night April 3rd, where each teacher, administrator, and support staff can receive 1 free ticket to the game, and they're able to purchase an additional discounted ticket for family and friends. I want to show their appreciation for how much schools have endured over the past 2 years and honor every teacher and staff member, and they will all be entered in to win a teacher prize pack. And lastly, the New York Yankees, again, would like to honor Bridgeport Public School educators and staff. They have a number of teacher appreciation dates for severely discounted tickets to see the New York Yankees at Yankee Stadium. Also a hot dog, I believe chips, and a drink. They will also host, as part of that, many beginning in May and all the way through July. So we're stepping up to appreciate what our educators and staff have done over the last 2 years.
Okay.
That is the superintendent's report.
Very nice. Any questions?
Yes.
Ms. Castillo.
Yes. So in the last meeting, we discussed forming a committee to make a recommendation regarding the mask mandate that has equitable representation. So I just kind of wanted to ask where you're at with that. Do you have an update? What is it looking like?
Yeah, we had some discussions, myself with some folks, including our health director. The idea of a committee, as she clearly stated and was pretty obvious, depending on the makeup of the committee, that will drive the decision of the committee. So what we're going to do, myself and Liza Early, the director of nursing, supervisor for the district, in conjunction with the health department, are going to put out a parent survey so that we can gather some information from parents and then also look a little bit more closely at the data. The next couple of weeks will give us an indication of how other districts across the state are faring. But as you can see, it's not only in Connecticut, all surrounding states are starting to follow suit. I can share that CAPS did a survey of districts statewide, and out of the responses, I believe 124, 91% today went mask optional. There was a few districts that were undecided at the time. Stanford has made, I believe, March 15th their date to make it mask optional, and I believe the same has been made with Norwalk. I'm not completely sure on Norwalk, but so we are gathering the data. I think what we were encouraged by the health department is to really make sure that the messaging is accurate and informative to families moving forward whenever the decision is made, and that there's no real set in stone, that if there are dangers that seem to be presenting themselves in a particular classroom, a particular neighborhood, or a particular school, that we may have to pivot in those specific areas for a short time to prevent any further spread if we start to see that. So I think these are some of the things that we need to discuss, more so than making a decision, because that's obvious that the decision will be indicative of the committee. And if we split the committee, we're going to just be at a standstill. So we have a lot of information being provided by the Department of Public Health, and we'll continue to work with them closely. And we'll continue to follow the guidance that's been released by the CDC, which has now provided us with some more framework over the last 2 weeks since our meeting.
Right. Is there any plan to include faculty and staff in the survey?
Yes, so the next question we meet frequently, the BEA, and myself, the leadership, and Ana Batista is here, will be asking the teachers union to survey their own folks to get feedback from them. And so that was, and we'll be doing the parents.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah, Mr. Chair. Okay.
What?
I have a question for you, Mr. Destani. One of them is, I don't exactly the name, how to tell you the person, but we can, or I don't know, years back, I found out that we have somebody in Hartford that will fight for us, especially when it's about budget, when it's about money. I know different towns, they have it.
Lobbyist?
Yes, thank you. That's the question.
City.
I know another towns have it, and then sometimes be us going crazy because the budget had somebody for us there, and then bring it to you information what we can do. Though we can have somebody like that. So,
well, the city does have a lobbyist. I have spoken with him with our delegation, but the lobbyist is there to advocate for the priorities that have been set. Education is one of those priorities. There are several things that are occurring at the state level. I had some meeting last week that sounded encouraging at from a member of our delegation on where we could be. That could possibly not only solve our budgetary needs for the short term, but also for the long term. So I think that there is an appetite at the state level, especially given the fact that it is an election year for governor, to make sure that cities like Bridgeport receive their fair share in comparison to other districts like Hartford. So it's a wait and see right now. There's a lot happening, but.
Okay, and my second question is how we can have our homeschool coordinators back. Why I ask this question, because looking at all the hiring we have here, we got a lot of special para, we got a lot of assistant coaches, I know for the assistant and stuff like that. I know we can have a, homeschool coordinator back. You know, they are great people. They do a lot of things, especially with the parents, students, with staff. So I don't know how we can do it, or we can bring it to another agenda. We can bring it to the committee financials, stuff like that. I just want to know how we can bring this amazing homeschool coordinators back. What is the next steps? What we can try to do?
There really are no next steps. I mean, depending on how much money is provided to the district, a spending plan will obviously be in place, and if there's any additional money to bring back staff that have been lost in the past, we need to prioritize what that will look like. But
I believe we can try to do something, or maybe bring it to an agenda on the finances, because right now you have a person here managing budget, $125,000. So I know we can try to do something to have these ladies and gentlemen back. So I just want to bring that to your attention for the record. Now, no more questions, no more comments, Mr. Chair.
I want to circle back to the committee. This board took a unanimous vote at the last meeting to have a committee. I understand there'll be people on both sides, as there is in the board. Assuming one board member will be on one side, one board member will be on the other side, and going back and forth. If we don't send this to committee, as the board has already voted, first of all, we would have to have a vote to not send it to committee, because there's already a vote affirmatively and we've done it. And if we don't, we're just going to have this conversation again, where there might be 3 or 4 on one side, 3 or 4 on the other side. If the committee vets it out first, come up with the metrics, have all these arguments outside the public eye, and come to some sort of understanding between the people and compromises that everybody.
We're going to have a committee. I think we need to gather the survey data first.
I think it could. We're on a very tight time frame. We've got 30 days.
Yeah, I think.
How long is it going to take for the data to get out? No, please let me finish, Mr. Chair.
I think what
There's going to be time to form the committee. We got to find the members. We got to put them together. We got to schedule meetings around people's schedules. This is a 30-day turnaround, just about a 28-day turnaround at this point. And I think we need to be in place, have some preliminary discussions before we get the data.
Well, we can always extend the mandate beyond March 31st if we're not quite where we're at. So the time is not a hard pressed if we haven't gotten there.
So we will be forming the committee.
Yes.
I think what Mr. Testani was saying is that he didn't want to just form a committee and have them just start having at it without some information for them to actually talk about vis-a-vis the surveys from the union and the parents, as well as statistical data. So I didn't take that to mean he wasn't going to do it, but he had to do some other stuff first.
Absolutely. Forgive me if I misunderstood, but I do not believe in things going unsaid and having miscommunication, so it's out there.
Okay.
We can get it done.
Can I also add that, Mr. Testani, I felt that your recommendation was inclusive. Well, that was one of my concerns in our last meeting. I was concerned that there wasn't going to be equitable representation from both sides. I like the idea of serving all parents. You know, there's obviously going to be some parents who may not respond, but at least they are provided the opportunity to. Same thing with our faculty and staff. I think it's extremely important that they weigh in also, because they're going to be essentially closest to our students when we make this change. And the same goes for them. So it's an inclusive approach. I think it was a considered decision. So I appreciate that.
And I do, just to mention, it's not as if when masks are allowed to come off that you have to take them off either. You know, I mean, I will garner some information from the surrounding towns on Friday when we meet to see, you know, what the participation in the removal of the masks are as well in these optional places. Because, you know, they've been optional in public settings in many towns and now in Bridgeport for some time. And when you go places, you walk into a store, you walk into a business, some people wear them, some people don't. So, I mean, it's not as if we're saying that if we remove them, you have to take your mask off either. So that is always an option for everyone.
Okay. So, you have something to say, Mr. Macaron?
No, I just said, I just agreed with Mr. Testani's comment.
Okay. All right, so old business, not to be transacted. New business, first one is discussion and possible action to award contract to install new weight room equipment at Central High School. Mr. Testani?
Yes, so I did have the point person that on this project was Mr. Dave Catalina, assistant principal, former football coach. He has an expertise in this area. So he did have a company come in and do a schematic of what we were looking for. Based on that, we did put the RFP out. We had several views of it. We had 3 companies bid. And this is the low bid for the exact specifications of we were looking for. It's actually 2 rooms. It's the main weight room and then the auxiliary weight room that is currently just like a storage area. So this will provide student athletes and all students access in their PE classes to new equipment. If you've been into the weight room or fitness room, whatever you want to call it at Central currently, we have not only dated, but it's donated and dated from other districts, broken equipment that doesn't work. There are no cardio machines that are operable. So this company will come in and install, set up all the new equipment and dispose of all the current broke and dilapidated equipment.
At what price?
What about the other high schools? Do they have the same type of equipment? Will they be equipped with the same type?
So the final price is approximately $124,000, I believe.
Did you hear it, Mr. Macaron?
Mr. Macaron, yes, Harding High School, it was all done in the building of the new Harding High School. So they are already have new equipment. Okay. And the BASIC will be included in the BASIC project. Unfortunately, during the renovate as new of Central High School, because of some significant overages that were discovered with removal of PCBs and other things, one of the items that was removed from the project was this component of it, as well as if we can find funding at some point, the gym floor, which is also in necessary need of repair. But this is step 1.
Any other questions?
Yeah, just a quick one. This went to the lowest bidder?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, he said that.
The total amount?
Question.
Yeah.
Okay, Ms. Baptiste Press?
Who constructed Central High School? And who was the demolition contractor?
So it was a renovate as new. The original construction manager was Morganti. When the funds ran out, they were gone. Bismarck Construction then stepped in and completed the job with whatever budget was left. And the remediation and was done by SMI out of Rhode Island, I believe.
Yes, that was.
And what year was that?
It was completed, geez, now
Like 18?
4 years ago, I believe, final completion. It began several years before that because it was done in phases while students and staff were operating in the building.
Right.
And it wasn't the same emergency contracts that was used for?
No, the demo was it was really abatement more than anything else, and it was SMI out of Rhode Island.
Okay, and so the change order cost is what kind of delayed?
Yeah, so when they were removing certain exterior and the PCBs were not visible, so when they became exposed, that's when the change orders needed to occur in order to complete the project. So, at face value, you're not going to be able, and testing, the bid just wasn't in line with what they actually found later on.
Thank you.
Ms. Castillo?
I missed the number. It was 100 and...
About $124,000.
Okay, and is there budget for this?
Excuse me?
Is there budget for this?
Yes, this is part of our federal monies that we're expending so that kids can have more activity.
Yes, okay. Great.
Anyone else? Okay. We now have a quorum again. So now we can, oh no, Mr. Macaron was behind us, so we had one. Okay. All right, so is there a motion, and what's the name of this company?
I think it's Total Fitness. Total Fitness.
So is there a motion to award this project to Total Fitness?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Baptiste Perez, second by Ms. Allen. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Next is discussion and possible approval to award contract for athletic training services. Just on.
Mr. Denton is here.
Denton's here.
He kind of spearheaded this.
Good evening. My name is James Denton. We started this process for the athletic trainers in the summer with the development of the RFP, which went out to bid. Once we secured the winning bid, it went to the city attorney and the vendor's attorney, and the final contract was developed. It went through the contract committee meetings, and we're here tonight looking for, the final approval. It is a 3-year contract, $130,000 a year to supply 3 athletic trainers, 1 at each high school, Harding, Bassick, and Central.
And as I understand it, there's some ancillary services with this as well for folks who get injured.
That is not, part of the process, the injuries go to a doctor, but that is not in the contract.
I thought there was some component where they provide therapy or...
Well, injured student athletes are referred to a medical doctor for treatment, but that is not outlined in the contract.
Well, because
there is a relationship between the winning vendor and a local doctor's office that they use, but that is, that's not spelt out in the contract that it's, part of the deal.
I was led to believe that why we were outsourcing this as opposed to hiring individual people was that they, as part of their service, they brought something that we could not accommodate ourselves.
Well, if we didn't hire the individuals through this contract, we would have to hire 3 full-time employees. And it's these positions are, part-time. They fill the needs of each high school, and they work in correlation with the medical doctor.
I think that's the component we're talking about, that if we were to hire an individual, they would not be able to provide that kind of service through a medical professional.
Yes, there is a relationship between the vendor and local medical doctors.
All right. Any questions? Any of you saw this at the contracts meeting? Okay. Is there, and what's the name of this firm?
Select Physical Therapy.
Select Physical Therapy.
Yeah, they have provided our athletic trainers for several years.
Okay. And they are at $130,000 a year.
Correct.
Okay, so is there a motion to approve awarding this contract?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Benahan. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Skolowicz seconds. Is there any further discussion or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I would like to abstain.
Ms. Allen will abstain. Any opposed? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Discussion possible action to approve issuance of an RFP for special education auditing/review services. This is your,
Yeah, so it's been 8 years this month since the last review of our special education department. Service delivery has been done, and we'd like to take a look and put this out for bid to get an outside lens to come in and assess through their process. From all indications, it would take anywhere from 6 to 8 months to do an accurate assessment and a report back. And that'll be the baseline for any planning and to address some of the needs that we can do a better job in providing service to students across the district.
okay. Any questions about this?
I have a question.
Ms. Baptiste Perez.
Is it for all students receiving special education funded through the school district?
Well, they'll do an assessment of the services we provide to the students, our staffing levels, and so they'll assess and provide us with a roadmap, the things we do well, the things we can improve upon. At first glance, we do see that there are issues that we can probably be more efficient. We just want to also see how much better we can be more effective as well.
Yeah, let me clarify the question. When I say all students that the district funds, does that include charter schools?
Well, that's going to be a difficult component. I mean, we can engage them in that conversation, but we don't really have any control over. I mean, we're a seat at the table at the PPT meetings that are conducted at charter schools, but the team makes the final decision on whether students qualify and what services they will be rendered. So we're hopeful that through discussions, looking at the IEPs, that they'll be able to do an assessment of those children as well and those services.
I have a question.
Castillo.
We recently discussed, I believe it was at a teaching and learning committee, a software that we were going to be adopting sometime over the summer that was going to sort of standardize the data, the way that we collect data for IEPs.
Well, that's statewide. Everyone's going over to that. It's nothing that we don't have now. It's now that all our IEPs are on on our own platform.
Yep.
The state is requiring we're all on the same platform, every district, so that they'll be able to look and there'll be better oversight of how the IEPs are written.
Right.
But the review will look at not only how they're written, the recommendations that are provided, our staffing, how we're allocating staff, how we're utilizing staff. So this is more, this is what the state is doing, what we talked about in the teaching and learning, is just a platform to upload the IEPs. It doesn't look at whether we're doing them effectively or we're implementing them efficiently. It's just a platform that we're in compliance with.
Okay, so when would this be scheduled, if approved, when would this be scheduled to roll out?
Whenever we would be able to make the final award, that company would have to, based on what month it is, get in here, and then they'll start their process, whatever that would be. So that's going to be focus groups, talking to parents, talking to teachers, talking to administrators, looking at IEPs. I'm sure it's, like I said, 6 to 8 months to come up with a final product or a report. That's from just talking with certain groups that have done this.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question.
Mr. Macaron.
Yeah, my question is, we already have an issue with funding special education, correct? Am I right?
Well, it's an escalating cost that we continue to encounter.
That's exactly. So this particular company or firm is going to help us do what? With the lack of funding that we have, how are they going to improve our special education delivery to our students?
Well, they will assess how we deliver the services and how we staff it. So they will make recommendations on how we can improve upon, maybe that we're spending more money than we need to be spending. And what areas we can do better in, and what areas that we do well. And we can, and you know, this is like I said, over 8 years, there's been a lot of inconsistency in leadership. So things have gone in different directions based on staffing, based on schools. So we really want to take a better look at this, and we don't have the capacity to do that in-house.
Sure.
Is that, are you finished, Mr. McElroy?
Yeah, I'm good.
Mr. Scholarman?
I lost it back. Yes, Macaron brings a point about finances, which that brings up a question I didn't even think of to ask the last time this is around. We're not only going to look at over-identification and ways to save money, we're going to be also looking at if we under-identify any students that haven't been receiving services, correct? This is not just a...
Well, this is not about saving money. We may not save a penny through their recommendations, but we may be able to deliver services more effectively to students. I don't know what the report is going to find, but that's why we need to do this periodically to make sure that we are doing the best for the kids that we serve. I mean, to say we're under, I don't know how they would be able to measure if we're under identifying students that have not been assessed.
Yeah, because we always talk about how much money it costs and stuff like that. We always got to keep first and foremost in our mind, these are students with the needs, our most vulnerable students.
Correct.
And we've got to deliver these services no matter how much they cost. Unfortunately, they're very expensive, and that takes away from the other students. I know we've gotten in trouble with the state before over special ed delivery about 10 years past or so, correct? And we definitely don't want to be
well, you teeter on over-identifying and under-identifying.
Right.
So
we got to err on properly identifying.
Correct, but it's also about maintaining and providing not only the services to the students, but effective services. And I think one of the things that we've uncovered is in some cases, that may not always be the case, that we're doing it efficiently and effectively. And what happens is, like you mentioned, it does become expensive. It becomes expensive when we send kids out of district.
Right.
But what better way to save money is to provide that service in-house, where parents want their children in their local public school, not on a bus for 45, 50 minutes to a place that we really don't know if what they're doing is effective. It's just something different. So
yeah, and to Ms. Batista Perez's point, the charter schools, you can look at how we deliver our services to them from our end, and make sure we're doing it as an efficient way as possible. I don't know if it's as far as which schools they hit every day or whatever, or how to, because if you got one student at one school or whatever, are we scheduling them properly?
we do the best we can for the charter schools once we've properly provided services in-house.
Right. Yeah, I'm just talking about just efficiencies that maybe we can find on our end while delivering the services to their end, not about them identifying.
Sure.
Although they could probably benefit from such a review themselves.
Point of personal privilege. Talking to the mic, Joe?
Yeah, you're starting to fade.
Sorry?
I can't hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah, turn your mic on. There you go.
I was saying to your point.
Thank you.
Yeah. Is that all you need?
Okay, is that it?
That's it.
Okay.
Thank
Any other
you.
questions? All right, is there a motion to approve issuing this RFP?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Sokolovic. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Baptiste Perez. All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Last item is discussion possible approval to issue RFP for student transportation services. Mr. Testani.
Yeah, just simply as we discussed at the Contracts Committee, our contract with We Transport is expiring at the end of the school year. We do not have permission to extend the contract under city ordinances, so it needs to go out for bid. Plain and simple.
Does anyone have any questions?
I have a
Okay,
question.
Ms. Baptiste Perez?
Has this issue been addressed to the city? Because it's an ordinance issue where we can't renew. Has any discussions been made for potential, I know it has to go through the city charter, right?
Correct.
So my understanding is that the city is working toward modifying that aspect of the charter to allow for greater latitude in being able to have option extensions in
Right.
future procurements.
I hope that is the case, because it does not always fit what would benefit the Board of Education. But I don't know what the timeline for that is and where they're at with that. We spar with them very often on some of their ordinances when it comes to purchasing. And because, for example, when we have to renew a contract like Power School, which is our student reporting system, and we get a response back, you need to go out to bid. Well, no, it's not that simple. It's not something you can change every couple of years. So it doesn't always fit in the box like it does for, sidewalks at Seaside Park or a walking trail at Beardsley Park. So we're hoping that they incorporate some of our input when they do make their revisions to the charter.
Did you have a question, Ms. Castillo?
So Mike, you're saying that moving from e-transport to another bus company could really cause issues to the new company because of the routes and all that stuff?
No, it's not necessarily we'd be moving to any different bus company, but we have to put it out to bid so that other transportation companies can have an opportunity to compete. But the routing is all done from the data that we import into our software. So they just need to be on board with working with us once the routing is completed through TransFinder.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Is there a motion to approve issuing the RFP for student transportation services?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Shanahan. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Allen. Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Ms. Allen, second by Ms. Baptiste Perez. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Time is known as 8 o'clock. Our next meeting is March 14th at 6:30.
Good night.